Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode. Wow, coughed right there of 10 Forward Weekly. My name is Mike Fadum. I am your community manager, also known as Ambassador Kel, and I'm excited to be here tonight. Just to start us off, I saw the chat about how there's been too many Q&As with just me and not enough devs popping up on the stream. You're right. I probably should chase people down more actively. I think I got a little spooked because when I was doing the just have people on to talk about, what they do at the company streams, we were still getting a lot of the same, like, when can I have this ship? Or when will you make me this costume I want? Questions. So, Christian, yes, the stream is starting soon. Hold on. Uh, but that shouldn't stop me from getting people on the stream. And we have some new team members who would be fun to have on too. So I will go do more of that. Um, anyway, hello. Hope y'all are doing good. Um, yes, the Christian, write down our bugs. Christian is not here at uh is not here at it's not at Disneyland this week. And neither am I. And really, we'd both rather be there. No, I'm kidding. I love you all. Okay, when we moved to Los Angeles, my wife and I bought well, not when we moved to Los Angeles, like a month or two ago, we bought uh Disneyland annual pass things. And the I didn't know that the way that works is because the way that works is you reserve a day if there's openings and then you can go. What I didn't know is that if you reserve a day and don't show up 3 times, they don't allow you to book for a month. I thought I could just be like, oh, maybe I'll go to Disney today, maybe I won't. This is a terrible mistake. Don't follow my example. Because now I can't book again until like, well, I guess it's only another 8 days at this point. But all right. So hello everybody. As usual, this is a Q&A stream. I'm stalling for time a little bit because Christian says he's booting up his headphones, and I don't want him to miss any major bugs. But let's go through the usual expected and beloved rules for the chill Q&As that we have. The first rule, of course, as always, is be chill. Be chill, everybody. Be excellent to each other. The second is questions about when you're going to get X item. I likely will not have an answer. The best I could do is say maybe sometime soon. And even if we had other devs in the stream, it's the best they could do too. As you know, game development is constantly in flux, and we don't want to promise something that isn't actually coming until we're ready to announce it. Oh yes, and party on, dudes. Sorry, I forgot that bit. And is Bill and Ted a movie about the birth of the Federation? No, it's a movie about the birth of the Time Lords. Anyway, what are my other rules? Upcoming content is the same rule. I literally will never answer a question that's such and such when question mark. So yeah. Oh, and like ideas and suggestions are awesome. Send them in, but do keep in mind that if you submit something and we use it, that's you submitted it to us freely. We don't, don't sue us, please. Don't be like that one guy. All right. Oh yes, and Duncan Idaho says, please. I'm gonna adjust that a little bit, Duncan Idaho, in the Twitch chat. If you have a question that you're repeating, because I didn't see it the first time, 3 times, and then we kindly ask that you wait 20 minutes before you post it again. All right. Any clues on what's next after the Voth event is done? Let me look at what's next after the Voth event is done. And then maybe I'll be able to give you guys some hints. That's not the right schedule. Oh, wait. This is not a huge surprise. The next event after Voth event is First Contact Day, because it's in April. Not a huge surprise. So, I think I saw one of those rewards today. I think it's a reward for First Contact Day, and it's really cool looking. That actually no, that might be for later on in the year, but it was really cool looking. Michael Kenny says game development is in flux, so he can't say anything about upcoming content because he wouldn't want to flux it up. I should get a soundboard for these streams. Any word on the length of the event? I believe it's a full 3-week event. Will there be content before or after first contact? After Voth is first contact, and then there's some other stuff. Did you check out the list of the upcoming ships to see if there's any strange new worlds? LW? What's low? Did you mean to say lower decks? Because I don't know what LW stands for. Picard, Disco 32nd Century ships on the horizon. I can confirm that there is a strange new world ship on close enough that I would call it soon. And maybe not the one you're expecting, if you're expecting one. I shouldn't have said maybe not the one you're expecting. I should have just said maybe not one you're expecting. I'm excited about it. It's going to be weird but fun. When was Red Alert canceled on console between the new events? Shouldn't be. If it was announced and didn't go, please let me know. That is an interesting question. Was just Jerry? Christian, can you write was just Jerry's question in Twitch chat down so that we can ask systems about that later? Um, Ryukin OD, there are C store ships coming up as well. I believe one of the C store ships coming up is technically a lower deck ship. Will there be a special bundle for the Disco series finale? I don't have any plans for that right now. What do you think about an NX timeline or from some other series? Benny the Blessed. Excuse me. Do you mean a new starting experience, Benny? Unlock the Texas Miracle Escort, but it doesn't have the NA registration. That's correct. That is a bug and is getting fixed, I believe, this week, but if not, very soon. Is there a time frame for us to fix the bug in ISA? That's the other rule we mentioned. If you're going to tell me about a bug, please tell me in detail, because then I can pass it on, or Christian can write it down and pass it on. So I don't know what the bug in ISA is. Angel Beat wants to know how I feel. I'm very sleepy. Can we see the Romulan timeline in a time war against the Romulan Star Empire? I feel like Darth Dragonborn is asking questions of that are a deeper Star Trek cut than my knowledge goes, which I feel bad about. Yeah, Benny the Blessed, we probably won't be doing any more new starting experiences. Just, you know. Blah, blah. Okay, if the issue in ISA that whoever was talking about was the right transformer in ISA/ISE spawning without a shield, then that issue has been reproduced by QA and put on content, so it'll be fixed hopefully soon. At Assault, I believe there's a new set bonus something coming. I think I heard about that recently. Okay. Oh yeah, so Mar Hockman wants to know how much fan art has piled up since last time. Uh, not as much as I would have thought. I only got 2 emails with fan art this week. Um, oh, I will show them off to you now. But first, Sophia Nugget. Yes, we did figure out for some reason when Star Trek Online was launched on console, there were around 15 countries that it didn't get launched in the PlayStation Store. I don't know why. No one knows why because many reasons. But we are working through the process of getting those added now. Darth Reedus 82, end of game is not imminent anytime soon, but don't worry. People have been telling us the game is going to end next year since 2011. Jack Cooper, that sounds like Christian. If you could write down the bit about the medical coat on console, that sounds like a bug that was fixed on PC and shouldn't have been transferred to console. But these things happen. Do I have a favorite ship and Vanity Shield combo? Yes, you see it every week. It's my Machla refit with the Kelvin something Vanity Shield. Hold on, I'll look it up. But first, let's look at some fan art really quick. Endeavor sent us this awesome shot of all of these cool ships. He said it was the Phase 3 development project, all gathered at, I believe that's Utopia Planitia. And then Michael Smila sent us 5 pictures. Normally, when you guys send me a ton, I only pick 1 or 2. But since I only got 2 emails this week, I did all of Michael's. So here's the first one, looking really cool. I'm gonna say that's a D7, and I might be wrong. No, it's not a D7. That's one of our ships. Because yeah, it's very pretty. I wish I knew the name of it. It's the carrier that we launched several years ago. I know that much. This is another cool shot of it with some ships coming off the bottom. Vodevil, thank you. Or Vodewul. Devil. Here's a nice up close shot of a Federation shuttle trying to harm this amazing ship. You can't. It's a Klingon ship. Just give up now. And finally, another cool shot of a. Is that a worker bee trying to fight it? I think it might be a worker bee. That's hilarious. Okay. Okay, Darth Dragonborn 107. Thank you for passing all that on. I assume Christian is writing it down. Shield Repair Shuttle, also a worker bee. Darth Raidus 82, the French twist hairstyle issue was reported last week, and I know QA verified it, and so it's on the team to fix now. All right. Are there any missions I would like to update? All of my favorite missions are Klingon missions, so that might be feasible, but probably not. Did folks haul Tushy at the anniversary bundle for console, or was it ready early? I think it was just able to go out earlier. I don't know exactly why. Let's do some Voth stuff. Actually, I would love to go to the Voth battle zone because I have never spent much time here, and I think it's cool. Duncan, Idaho, I will ask about that. Christian, can you write down medium variant of Beverly's hair for female characters? Rachel Oldham, if you send him in, sure. All right. Don't want to go to the Undine space battle zone. Kramer Griggs, please don't tell me that the bug with things not making, with weapons not making noise has made it to console, because that would make me sad. What in the world is that gun? This is the Zenkethi. What? Zenkethi Retrofit Assault Cannon from the Lobi store. I feel like I need to get over there where it's red. Tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, weapons on console are not making sound. How did that bug get through? That's annoying. Christian, please make note. Now, there's probably a teleporter or something I have to find. Hello, folks. Darth Dragonborn 107. The tech is there to make extra costume items for vanity pets. I don't know how. I don't know if that will happen anytime soon. You're trying to run to another zone, my guy. Okay, I obviously and clearly don't know how the Voth battle zone works. Is Christian my PA? No, Christian is one of our lovely QA testers, and he has volunteered to start appearing on stream, appearing off stream. I guess you could appear on stream too if you wanted, bud. But to write down the bugs that you guys report. Do I have any idea when the block on? Oh, when the block on PS4. I mentioned it again to the leads. People are looking into it, as far as I know. Christian, last I heard, that was on QA. So yeah, we should be able to do beards on Romulans now. You would think. I don't know how hard that is. I will pass it on. Ryukin 0D, I think the T6X, this is, I'm guessing the game volume is too loud because I can barely hear myself. Oh, you guys can't hear it at all. Um, anyway, when you guys, that was part of what we meant to, T6X token was meant to help with that. And there's more things being done in that area. Alright. Well, someone in chat requested him, and we're gonna go get him. Give me 1 second, folks, to hit this tower, and then that's the tower I already hit, so I'm just gonna stop here for a second. And I have to get Jesse in here. Not have to, want to. Because y'all requested him, and he is free. I can't see you.
I can't see you either.
Yeah, you're just a question mark on my screen.
You're just the Discord spinning box.
Oh, yeah, no. I should be just the Discord spinning boxes. Normally, I have OBS start after Discord, so Discord can use my camera. But since I started the stream already, and I'm live, I can't do that without shutting down the stream. So,
Well, I'm not sure what's wrong with Discord.
well, oh, there you are. I made you full screen, and you popped up. Don't know why. Okay, let's add you in
Yeah,
here.
on my window it's showing me, and my camera's turned on. Right.
Nope, that's not it. All right, there's a Jesse. Hello, Jesse. How are you?
Hello. You
We're
guys
we're
stand quite well, thank you.
we're playing through the Voth Battle Zone right now, actually, which I think you added that to the event this year. Yes?
That's correct.
Ooh, tell me about all of the incredibly difficult things that needed to be done to make the Battle Zone part of an event.
Okay, so
Oh, hold on 1 sec. Actually, hold on 1 sec, Jesse. Say nothing. I turned down the overall volume because the game volume was too loud, so I'm going to turn down the game volume and turn you back up. Just a second. Okay, now you can talk.
all right, so here's what I had to do. So first off, I had to update the appointment so that it could actually connect to the battle zone. Turns out there was a little bit of under the hood magic that had to happen because the game editors couldn't actually handle this directly, but the data could be handled by the engine, it just not in a way that was directly available to us. So after talking with our programmers, I went under the hood and was like, okay, yes, no, you can literally send the player directly to the battle zone. We had to, of course, to get a new icon for the battle zone on the appointment as well. So that went to our icon artist, Joe, and UI artist, I should say. And
yeah, she
and
does more
then,
than icons.
yeah, Joe's wonderful. Does so many things, and just like a lot of great roles in game development, if she does her job really well, you don't notice.
Yep.
Because she makes the game seamless with good UI and icons that are easy to grasp and understand. But the really, really hard part was opening up the battle zone itself, finding every single event that had you capturing one of the neighborhoods, and then updating it to say, if the appointment is running, you get credit for it while you're doing this. And that involved a whole line of data.
My God, an entire line? How did you survive?
I don't even know. I felt like I was coding for Twitter.
Then you have to print it out and bring it into the office.
Right, in order to continue justifying my existence.
Yeah.
No, but it was time. Like we've been running these events for a while now that are like play these TFOs, do these omega particles and things like that. And it's like, well, we've got these great battle zones. Why not just integrate them? Especially because the battle zones have natural breakpoints. Go and capture this neighborhood, capture this area of a battle zone. And it seems to resonate with players. So if players like it, then we might do it again.
Yeah. Cool. Just wanted to answer. So this is I'm sure you saw a chill Q&A night, so I'm going to be answering lots of random questions here. But I'm glad to have you on to answer some other ones. Darth Dragonborn 107 wants to know how long it would take to, swap the resists Hull has over to shields, would buff the skill tree and buffing shield regen. I think you're asking to do 3 things, unless you're saying that swapping the resists would then buff those other 2 things. Either way, I don't think that's a trivial task. Each power in the game is built individually, so my guess is that each of those hull resists that exist that can be buffed in one way or another are not something you can just open up and tear. Like, you can't just say switch hull resists to shield resists and be done. Sounds like a couple weeks of work. Tell me if I'm wrong, Jesse.
Yeah, you would not be just done by doing that. Like, you could, in theory, do that. Just say, instead of this giving you shield resist, this now gives hull resist. But, like, the numbers for shields are different magnitudes than the numbers for hull, which means that now your resistance numbers are all wrong. And every node in your skill tree, like you were saying, is a separate power. So each of those powers has to be individually modified. And we have to make sure that the nodes are pointing to the right powers. And then we have to make sure that if we do something like this, that all of these powers get an update. We don't want a position where we go, hey, every power node that gave you hull resist now gives you shield resist instead. Except you have to respec your skills to get that modifier. Otherwise, it still gives you the old stuff because it didn't automatically update. Oops.
Bad.
There are complications, especially in a game that is as broad scope as Stowe. There are many pieces of data to touch, many dark corners where fearsome things hide.
Once you have entered the game code, forever will it alter your destiny. I can talk. Yes. I swear to God.
Right.
Yeah. Spartan Cerberus says sounds like a lot of work for very little actual payoff. That is probably true. Ryan House says we do need some more small ship content, and actually, I believe we have someone right here who can tell us about the last time we tried to do small ship content. I've spoiled the Mario Kart thing to them in the past because we're never going to finish it, I don't think. And that is a fascinating story to me because that was like we were playtesting that before we decided to not do it.
Mm-hmm. And we spent weeks and weeks and weeks of time on that before we finally came to the conclusion that it doesn't play well in our engine. Not necessarily that like the engine's bad or we can't do this or whatnot, but to get it into a state where it feels the same way that a racing game or Mario Kart or something like that feels would just take so much work that the amount of payoff just wasn't there. And that goes back to the previous comment about, that sounds like a lot of work for a small payoff. We make those kinds of decisions all the time because time is the fire in which we burn. And we only have a limited amount of that fuel. So the small craft race, let me put it like this. When you're playing a game like League of Legends versus a game like Resident Evil or whatnot, the camera systems are different. The way that your character interacts and moves is different. The way that you feel about how much mass things have, how fast they move, how responsive they are is different. And oftentimes these things are built directly into the engine in order to get the game to feel a certain way. There was a great comment on Twitter by one of the devs for one of the Dragon Age games said, I was in charge of making sprinting on horses go faster, and we couldn't because the horse, like running without sprinting, was already going its no wait, this might have been Witcher, not Dragon Age, but principle's the same. the horse going at its maximum speed already hit the limit of how fast a console could load in assets to stream the map. So what we did is we just pulled the camera back and added speed lines. And
That
suddenly you felt like you were going faster, but your speed was exactly the same. So
is
hit the shift
wonderful.
key, doesn't matter. But it explains the idea that like how the game feels depends on things like your camera, your motion, how responsive your character is, how fast they move. And all of those things, the way that our ship combat works, didn't work well for making a racing game. Shuttles just don't Mario Kart in our engine.
So yeah, there we go. There was a okay. So Esumiwa has asked a few times about a place in game to test DPS builds. Such a place exists, but only on Tribble right now. You can go to you can copy your character over to Tribble and test it to your heart's content on the map there. I hope one day we will get it on live. I know there are several and sundry challenges to doing that, and I don't know if you're aware of what those are, Jesse, because I'm not as much right now.
Well,
I think it's something to do with the rewards.
there's that. There's also the fact that the map is made by a designer who doesn't work with us anymore, so someone else like me would have to go digging through the data, find the map, figure out, okay, what do I need to do to hook this up? How do I make it so that it can't be broken or exploited? Like, you know, for instance, if that map was just set up to be in developer mode, you can just use a developer command to move to that map and then a developer command to leave it. But if we just push that, there's no way to get to it, and if you did get there, there's no way to get out.
Yeah.
So you got to fix all those little holes to make it actually useful to players.
Lawrence Kelly, I am playing on PC. I don't know if my graphics options are set to like the highest. Uh, yep, they're set to the highest. Yeah, it's just an older game. This is completely unrelated, but Trexpert wants to know, using everything you've learned now as a game designer in 2023, if you could go back and change one thing from... He's asking Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, but let's stick to just Fallout 1 for right now. What would you change?
Wow, if I could change just one thing in Fallout 1. Okay, so one of the games that was really influential to the Fallout 1 design team was the Ultima series, specifically the later ones, Ultima 6 and 7. And there was a specific thing that the Ultimas did at that time that has sort of reappeared in Skyrim in funny ways. But it was an open question in game design. Is this good to do or not? And we hadn't quite sorted it out. Um, and that idea is, should your game represent every single thing in the world that you can do or interact with or look at or manipulate or talk to? Or should you focus on the things that are important to the story and the gameplay, and the other stuff is like sets and backdrops in a play, where it's like, okay, you can never get to that area
All
that's
three
off in
silos
the
are under
distance,
Allied
so we're just
control.
going to make a low
Excellent
res
work.
picture and throw it on a card in the background because we don't need it to be high res because it doesn't matter. You never
Voth
go there.
fortresses engaged
Um,
transporters. Troops
and
inbound.
one of the difficulties that I ran into in Fallout was that I was pushing for a lot of authenticity by doing things that were, you know, indicative of how the world worked in a bigger way, but in ways that weren't necessarily meaningful. Sometimes this shows up in the form of like needlessly complicated dialogue. Sometimes it showed up with like, there was in pre-production of Fallout 2 a meeting where I was like, well, you know, if the town of Arroyo is using basically medieval level agriculture with bronze or stone tools, then 20 times the amount of play space that you see should just be fields. But who cares? You could just say, oh yeah, we have these huge fields for farming, and the player doesn't have to see them if they don't matter to the game. And that is one of the design challenges that I learned about later on, which ironically I took away from engineering, from doing computer science classes. The old saw that you know that you are done not when there's nothing left to add, but when there's nothing left to take away. Video games, just like movies and books and whatnot, they're a media where you have a fixed involvement in them. Like you watch a movie and they have 2 hours, maybe 3 hours to tell their story, to get it into your head. And so they're only going to show you the parts that really matter to that story, the parts that are good, that are entertaining, that are worth being on screen. If something doesn't add to that, it doesn't contribute to the message in some way, then what is it doing there? And the same principle applies to video games, especially when you're talking about something like Fallout 1, where you have to fit it on a CD and the amount of data space that you have is very small. If
but
it's
we need to
not
program
contributing,
400
yeah,
meters of farmland that the player can't interact with, obviously.
right. So why am I spending time and resources on this thing that isn't actually going to contribute to the story?
Yeah.
And and then you get into the second order of the question is what's a better way to contribute to that to the story? Because the idea that Arroyo is technologically unsophisticated in the post-apocalyptic world, and that therefore they're doing subsistence farming that relies a lot on local irrigation and hand tools, and maybe carts pulled by Brahmins with plows on them if they're lucky. Um, sure, you can mention it, but you don't have to spend a lot of energy showing it off if it doesn't really matter. And we've all heard stories about games in the industry that for whatever reason decided to just run away with some idea, and it was like, oh, okay, that's great, but is that really what the game's going to be remembered for? When I went
Yeah.
to Comic Con many, 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 many years ago, outside of the convention center, a bunch of the attendees had bought up space to run their own booths and promos and advertising. And there was promotion for the first Dragon Age game there. And there's a guy standing up on like a booth who's in front of their big truck with the Dragon Age paint job on it and whatnot. And he's shouting about how this game is so bloody, your characters are going to be covered in gore,
Yeah.
your screen is just going to be covered in blood, the
And
dog's
it
going to be
was.
licking blood off your face. And all of these things are true. Is this why Dragon Age is fondly remembered and why this franchise is so powerful? I mean, might be a 1/2 of 1% contributor to that. But
Yeah. And honestly, it's
not the
actually a
most.
contributor for me not enjoying Dragon Age as much as I could. Because
Right.
blood really squicks me out.
Yeah. It's a
So,
little overwhelming. It's like, is
yeah.
this really necessary? Probably not.
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. That was the answer to the question.
Sorry, it was so lengthy.
No, it's fine. I'm trying to see if any other questions have come in. I know there was somebody who asked about. I don't know if you know anything about this. We have because this is definitely outside of your areas that you're working
Mm.
on, even right now in your sort of part-time systems designer position, or are you basically full-time systems designing now?
At the moment, I am full-time systems designing, but that is, of course, subject to change.
At any
Weeks,
moment.
3 months, whatever down the road, depending on our scheduling.
Yeah. So there are several costume pieces from the old Mako Omega TFOs that are no longer
Mm-hmm.
obtainable, and I know I brought this up several years ago, and there was some discussion about where to put them, and then I think they that fell off, as sometimes our discussions do, are as a team, not yours and mine.
Yeah, it unfortunately it's fairly complicated because some of those costumes were awarded by accolades that were triggered by completing TFOs that no longer exist, things like that. And it's not always as simple as just, okay, well, let's just change the way that this is awarded, because in some cases they were awarded in unconventional ways that we don't structure the data anymore. So now it becomes an issue of, all right, a designer like me has to go and find where did we award this thing, and then pass all that data to a programmer and say, okay, how is this actually unlocking the costume? And then send that over to the costume designer to say, and is this still a costume that we want to give out, or does it need to get fixed up? Does it have like bad collisions with things? Does it need to get added to the acceptable list for a bunch of species that didn't exist in the game before? Things like that.
Yeah.
It's sadly not as simple as just turn switch costume on.
Costume on, yeah, which I don't think anybody thought it was with this particular
Yeah.
one. It's been so many years, but it definitely is um, harder to get to just give it away. I would love to take a look at
Yeah.
that though. I might mention that to Jared as the next time we're looking for some rewards for something, especially if we're doing a Borg event.
Yeah, if we can find out like another way to get the unlock data to function, then it might be good to just be like, and here is a new way that you can get these costumes.
Yeah.
If we can get the time scheduled, again, it's all priorities and times.
Yeah. Little Chumba, there was I remember the Into Darkness Spock Volcano suit was brought up as a potential reward for this year's First Contact Day, but a more fun reward was selected at the time. We still know we have it. We're still sitting on it. We should get it out there somehow, but it's got to be the right time because it's right now it's just a costume. It doesn't have any stats to go with it. So somebody in a systems team would have to build the EV suit as well. Let's see. So, folks, I saw a couple people on YouTube asking about ground vehicles. That sort of thing is more of a major overhaul than you might think. The Voth mech is basically, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Jesse, the Voth mech is basically doable because it's almost a ground human person.
Right.
Whereas, like, adding go-karts and stuff would be much more difficult.
Yeah, stuff like the Argo is a bit of a challenge. Like, sure, Champions has vehicles, but you'll notice that there are some hard limits on what you can do with those vehicles.
Yeah. And they turn off all my powers. So Danny Nuggies, remember we can't talk about upcoming content stuff
so that
much.
they don't look bad.
Oh.
It's just it's bizarre how challenging it actually is. And of course, a lot of people have figured out, oh, when you hit a certain speed, you just blur it out and you fake it. But like making it so that the rotation of the wheels actually matches your motion turns out to be a little bit trickier than you would think for the programmers.
Honestly, so I've been trying to work on my Unreal Engine to have that skill set in my back pocket, and I just made it so that my character can pick up a sword and it will appear in her hand, and that was a Herculean effort for the tiniest thing. So I can imagine that wheels spinning is also a similar
literal
deal.
wheel spinning. But it goes back to the same thing about like the shuttle game. Okay, so what does it feel like to drive a car around on a map? What maps can you do it on? Is it going to actually fit in all the places we want it to on the map? What happens when you crash, when you run into another car, when you run over a critter? How is your car's throttle handled? Do you have to shift gears? Is that automatic? I presume it's automatic for the 25th century. And there's just all these sorts of questions. Can someone else ride in the car? Like, can you have Picard driving the Argo while Worf is manning the automatic phaser gun in the back?
Can we do Halo?
Right. Right. Well, maybe if we wanted to play Halo, we should do Halo. So, yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's so weird too. There are some things in game design that actually are really just that simple, and then there are other things that are just like, oh. I saw a joke someone posted the other day of programmers saying our skills in game design have reached their pinnacle. Nothing is impossible. Everything can be accomplished. Designer. Okay, so I want to have this one semi-transparent object with another transparent thing behind it.
No! One day we'll all be able to just say, "Hey, make this game," and plug into our neural network, like to our neural network, not an AI neural network, although it'll be an AI. Anyway, and then the game will just happen.
Yes, ChatGPT, make game.
Yeah. Red Drop 74. Christian, can you just write down? Actually, no. I'll just message Jared about that. I'll message Jared about that right now. Because that's easy. But I'm sure there's a way we can make party poppers available.
Yeah. Is it possible to turn on hoverboards on Nimbus and New Romulus? It is possible. So hoverboards get turned on by adding a volume.
Jesse, you still there? Oh no, he has frozen. Oh dear. Well, I can't answer that as well as he could, but I do remember that when they did that for the colony, it was not a simple thing.
Spaces.
Oh, there he is. You're back! Jesse, can you hear me?
Yes. Hello?
Yeah,
Did I
sorry,
cut out for
you
a second
you
there?
froze for a good 10 to 15 seconds.
Oh
So that most
no.
of that answer was gone. I'm sorry.
Uh, Hoverboards get turned on by defining a volume, a space on the map, and saying hoverboards are allowed here. But you have to be careful about the amount of ground clearance that you have, so that you may have noticed that, like, if you jump too high while you're on a hoverboard, you might fall off of it. The power might turn off because it only covers a certain amount of space above the water,
Got it.
um, or the ground, depending on whether you're using a hoverboard or a board or what have you. Um, so yeah, while we in theory can turn them on in various places, it takes a little bit of fiddling to make sure that they work right.
Yeah. Not a terrible
Otherwise,
terrible compromise though to the long-standing demand for or request, not demand, for
yeah,
uh, a faster way to get around those zones since they are gigantic. And you all just saw me flailing around trying to get to the V-Rex in time on
yeah,
uh, the Voth battle zone. Although we've also talked about some other ways to make it the Voth. Uh, sorry. A good way to make it. We've talked about ways to make the V-Rex less campable, right?
yeah, yeah. That's an ongoing discussion.
And that's all we could say about it because it's an
Hmm.
ongoing discussion.
Right. We cannot talk about current litigation in progress. That's a joke, kids. The VRX is not supposed to count for daily progress because, as Mike was just saying, sometimes people will camp it, and we don't want people to just be like, I'm just going to camp for the VRX, wait for someone to trigger it, shoot it once, and then get my daily credit.
Yeah. Let us destroy the V-Rex and partisans for the Endeavor. That could be a thing. I don't know. That was probably just an oversight when it was first created, but it's not a terrible idea. I think the idea of that Endeavor is to get you to the Voth Battle Zone to do Voth Battle Zone-y things. But
Yeah. Typically, we give so endeavors are designed to drive you to certain things. Play a PvP match today, do a board TFO today, things like that.
yeah, so to get you to areas of the map, areas of the game you might not normally spend time in, which now we can also use events for, like we just did with the battle zones. Y'all could just team with design teams from other MMOs. In what way, Thomas? Let me know more details
Hmm.
on your idea there, because yes, we certainly could, but to accomplish what? And that's not meant to be like a challenge. Like I just don't know exactly what you're asking right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what sort of resources or benefits we would get from that. Like, am I gonna talk to a content designer on New World or something who doesn't know the cryptic engine, doesn't work with any of our tools, and they're going to produce what?
Yeah. All right. I am going to briefly screw up how this camera looks, how your Jesse looks, so that I can add Christian to this call.
Ah,
Yeah, he's decided he wants to go from just writing things down to actually joining on the stream, which I am perfectly happy with. Okay, we are already friends. Great.
porting enemies. Question: how hard is it to transfer enemies from one game?
Now,
Hello there.
hello. I think Jesse is still in the other call because Discord is a monster. Uh,
That's
Well,
weird.
oh no, Jesse's here. Okay, great.
All right, we had
perfect.
a little technical hiccup, but we're all good.
Yeah, because that's how I
So
had to add Christian in. So
right, right. So
neither of you has your camera on now, though.
oh, boo. Let's see if we can fix that.
Fine.
So sorry, Jesse, you were in the middle of explaining something when I did all that.
Oh no,
Jesse?
Jesse's dead.
Uh, there we go. We're back. Okay.
Okay, great.
Yes. Porting enemies to other games. Porting stuff to Champions is real hard. Champions is basically locked to its own code branch, so
Mhm.
it doesn't get a lot of the code updates that Stowe and Neverwinter do, and
The
that
number of
comes
times
with
that
many
I have said,
trade-offs.
"Hey Julia, can we pull like this hairstyle or something from from Stowe so we can have extra hairstyles and champions, and it is not a thing that is possible.
There was a bug that I was looking to fix in Champions at one point several years ago, and I was like, "Oh, this should be really easy. I know how to fix this. I can fix it with one line." Oh, nope, that expression doesn't exist in the Champions engine. So, um, and yeah, that's like it makes it difficult to develop. It makes it difficult to port things over, but it also means it's extremely stable. Champions engine is a known quantity. You don't have to
Yep.
worry about like, and this time we're going to push something that totally breaks this entire side of the game in some awful way.
Yeah.
There'll still
The
be
most
data
we've
bugs, but
the most we've dealt
engine
with
is
is crazy
stable.
crashes that we don't understand.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, with Neverwinter, it's a little bit more possible because Neverwinter and Stowe develop in tandem on the similar code branches, but there's still some asset translation stuff. Like Neverwinter's an action RPG, so the way that monsters move and attack is different. Their animations are different. You have to basically rebuild the entire animation rig for a critter if you want to port it over.
Yeah.
Um, we get, a little bit of help if we use a pre-existing critter and we trade it from one to another, but not as much as you might think. It's not as simple as just saying, hey, the VREX exists in Stowe, let's just put it into Neverwinter.
Red Rob wants to know. Well, first of all, I want to know, Red Rob, why did you use that many punctuation marks on your question? Because it took it from a normal question to sounding as if you were screaming at us, and I don't know why you would do that. But secondly, Champions is not on console because it just didn't work out that way. It was going to be on Xbox 360 of all things, and that did not work out for whatever reason. All right. Benny the Blessed. Jesse was talking a bit earlier about costume. Why it's hard to just move costumes from one person to another. Part of the reason that special boffs, like ones that are based off of celebrity actors, are often not editable, is because there's a concern about the different costumes making weird interactions with their costume and generally looking terrible, which is something Ian, our lead character artist, very much likes to avoid. We don't want terrible looking anything in our game. So that is generally why. I know that there are some, like the EMH and Jordy, that are editable. That was a decision that was made at the time based on, I think, just based on those characters being fairly generic humanoid characters. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't know for sure because I wasn't there.
The further a given character is from the sort of the default species of Trek, the harder it is to make it editable. So there's every critter in Trek has a species associated with it that's a bridge officer. Like it can be, a hierarchy bridge officer, a Vulcan bridge officer, an Orion bridge officer, or whatever. And that species has data saying this is what costume pieces are legal to use. And all of that data has to be vetted and edited by our costume team. Sometimes it's an artistic decision. This piece looks really bad when you combine it with that piece. Therefore, we won't allow them together, or we just don't allow that particular piece on these character types. Other times it's a performance issue. Cloth is really non-performant because all of the physics that works on loose cloth capes and things like that. You've Folks who played Stowe for a long time have probably been through a couple of the builds where it was like, oh, why is my cape just flapping in a non-existent wind and standing straight up? Because cloth physics hard. Cloth is non-performant. So the more that you allow people to do these weird mixes and matches, the more you run the risk of having something that starts becoming an actual problem for computability. Uh, we don't want to make it something that's going to mess with the ability to play the game or like tank the FPS of everyone out there who doesn't have a 4080 video card.
Hmm.
Um,
Ryukin OD, can you find me the actual like in-game name of said hierarchy buff that is not editable? Because you're right, that doesn't make sense. But I don't want to ask the question with just the new hierarchy buff because I guarantee you every developer on this team will say, "What are you talking about?" and need more specific things to be able to look up. So if you can give me the name, I can get you closer to an answer on that. Um, there was a question about Defense of Starbase 1. I don't know if there's any timeline on the
mm,
Elite version of that returning, but we have made several changes to it recently that hopefully will address some of the issues we had with people AFKing those missions. Well, not hopefully, they have addressed. It's been a very good success in that way. So that's very exciting. I don't know what that means for if and when Elite will return, but I can ask.
It should return. We're basically letting all of the debris fall from all of the changes that we did to deal with the AFKing and botting of that particular TFO.
Yeah.
The reason that all of that AFKing and botting happened is a funny one, though, so I'm going to tell another story.
Oh, please do.
Um,
Also, Christian, are you still trying to figure out technical stuff? Is that why you're just sitting there on mute?
No, I'm
Or
good. I'm just listening. I love hearing
okay,
stories.
okay,
ah,
cool. Just wanted to make sure. Everybody, if you don't know, this is Christian. He is one of our QA testers and definitely the QA tester most engaged with the community. You can find him on pretty much everywhere fans gather because he's also a huge player of the game. So we love having him around. Please
I've
continue with your
also had
story.
the chance.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
sorry to say, I've also had the chance to fix some bugs recently.
Oh,
yeah,
that's right.
fixed. I fixed the costume on the Valkyrie hanger pets. That should go
nice.
live someday.
Yeah, I think that came. I think that went live last week. I remember
I
seeing the patch note for it. Maybe I'm wrong.
think that was a different thing. I fixed so
Okay.
far all of the four original Jemadar hanger or Jemadar ships in the C store had like a bunch of wrong descriptions, so I went and fixed those.
Nice. Well done. It's always fun when you get into the editor for the first time and go, "Oh, that's how they're doing it. That's what the
Yeah.
mystical, insane magic that these people perform." But Jesse, you were telling a story. I'm sorry. Tell us more about your
Oh, so
magical wizard man.
at the time that we did Defensive Starbase 1, there was a bizarre engine bug that we were running into. It's really common for us to have data steps in our missions that say, okay, and now you have to finish off the last remaining enemy ships or enemies on the ground or what have you, and then you proceed to the next step. And originally, that's how SB1 worked: is you'd get waves of Klingons, and then um, it would say, okay, we've fought off this wave, and then there would be a step saying, all right, clean up the remaining Klingons, then you have your 15-second
Oh yeah, I remember
interstitial
that.
where stuff can cool down and whatnot. Problem is, at the time that we were originally making the episode, there was a bizarro bug in code where that step that says clean up everything would never complete. And it had to do with there was a fake entity on the map that was used for certain code
Oh
purposes
God, I
that was
remember
getting
this.
counted. And so it was saying, no, 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 there is still an enemy on this map that is not dead, and you must find and destroy it. It does not matter that it's not actually a creature, that it is invisible and untargetable, and that it only exists to facilitate certain sorts of data transfers. And we had so much trouble tracking down that bug that we basically changed the mission to instead say, okay, it's just going to go for, this much time or this many kills is how long the waves are going to go, and then it's just going to automatically proceed forward. Well, that made it eminently AFKable because once people figured out, I don't have to do anything, the mission will just complete itself. They could just,
Yep.
you know,
Just go park and
drop
get
into the
rewards.
TFO and then have a soft drink of choice and a smile.
And of course,
Yeah,
it wasn't getting reported to us because the people uh, who want to be AFKing aren't going to be like, "Hey, devs, we found a thing."
right. So that's precipitated us going to various ways to curb that problem, like by reintroducing the idea of, okay, you have to clean up all of the enemy ships at the end of each wave and looking for players who are not participating. And that's always a real fine line to walk. How do you look for the player that's not participating without punishing a player who's trying to play, but their ship is just an underperforming build because they're, teamed with someone who's a super DPS league person.
Yeah. I finally got the answer to what Thomas Christopher Staten was asking before about because I apparently Facebook decided not to show me new comments until I hit refresh. So sorry about that, Thomas. But he wanted us to collaborate with other MMO teams to add new features to the game. And the reason that there's a harsh way to this sounds harsh, and I'm trying to figure out a way to not say it as harsh as it sounds, but I don't know why any other MMO team would work with us that way. So like if we went to BioWare and was like, "Hey, you've got a lot of developers, I assume, for the Old Republic. Can we borrow 3 of them to be environment artists for a week so we can build, or not a week, for a couple of months so we can do this?" That would be then taking away resources from their game. So I don't know why they would say yes to that.
Yeah, presumably you would either be treating it like an outsource house where we're like, we want to temporarily contract some of your people to work on our game, or it would be some sort of exchange. We need more environment artists, but we have extra content designers, so let's do a temporary swap.
Do we
The
have any
problem is
extra
that,
developers, Jesse?
well, that's problem number one. Problem number two is that that swap, like I said before, doesn't really accomplish anything. I don't know how the Old Republic engine works. I
Yeah.
couldn't make a mission for them without several weeks, maybe a month of spin up time to just to learn how everything functions in their game under the hood. Who am I supposed to talk to? If I run into this bug, what's the programmer that's going to fix it so that I can
Hmm.
work in the engine? Who's going to train me to teach me to use all of their tools and their editing stuff and whatnot? It's, as much as there are games that are all made in Unity or Unreal, lots and lots of games are still built with proprietary engines. And if you never learned that engine, you got to learn it before you can do anything useful. And even if I were to say, oh, I'm going to take a game that was made in Unreal and I'm going to go work on another game that was made in Unreal, Unreal gives you blueprints and it gives you a lot of basic elements to play with, but every game customizes it heavily in their own unique ways in order to get the kind of game they want out of it. You still have to learn all that sort of stuff. Would my learning curve be faster than someone who has never done game dev before? Probably. Is it efficient enough to be worth doing? Not really.
Yeah. We have a question for Christian from Mark the Chief, who wants to know what the weirdest or most interesting bug or error you worked on was.
Two players who were PvPing found out that once the PvP mission finished, they were de-leveled to level 0, both of them. And
That's
so
weird.
I saw it on a forum report, and I'm like, this doesn't sound real. So I did it, and yeah, you de-leveled to level 1 or level 0, and I was like, oh, that sucks. It got fixed, but that was just it's the weirdest bug I've ever seen.
Yeah. I'm diving into, if you guys aren't watching the stream, a deep space encounter for the first time in like 5 years. There was one in front of me, and I'm like, oh, I don't remember what these are like. Let's try it out.
Those still exist.
Yep, they still exist. There are many things
DSEs.
in this game that.
Aren't there also patrols that exist that aren't in the patrol menu still?
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Yes.
They're all over.
Hmm. All of the one-time fly up to this star system and play this little mini mission.
With all the crossovers.
Rayfire3557, the team is disbanding at the end of TFO's thing has been a long and annoying bug for us, and it keeps coming back every time we think we squashed it. But I will mention this. Little Chumba says, don't let Al see this, he'll remove them. You're not
Oof.
wrong.
They're
That
not
was a
the best content.
No. I mean, the map doesn't look bad, space-wise, like art-wise. But, it's
Why are the
orcs, so I'm
enemies
murdering
one
them
level
until
below you?
That's a good question. Probably some. Actually, Jesse, I don't know. Were you around when Deep Space Encounters were designed?
Yeah, these were done by Sean McCann. So usually, if the enemies are spawning at 1 or 2 levels, if it's just 1 level off, it can be. There's a number of things that can cause that. One, if you actually gained a level while you're in the middle of the mission, obviously. Number two, we sometimes build encounters where they have a small amount of wiggle room, where they are banded. So it's like, okay, the enemies are going to spawn somewhere close to your level, but not exactly on it. It might be the case with these. I don't know. I haven't cracked open a DSC to look at the encounter data. Hey, Christian, do you know I fixed that bug in um, Azura where
Yes.
um, yeah, do we know when it's going to go live? Because I haven't seen it in the patch notes.
I will check, but it probably did you fix it in the current live branch?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it might already be in the incremental. I'll double check. Did you include a patch notes for it?
Yes, I did, specifically so that we could see when it went through. And I was like, I haven't seen it, and it's been a while now.
It may
I
have
hope my
gotten
bug fixed
incremented to console, but not PC. Let me check.
it.
I see a player has followed me into this Deep Space Encounter.
They have found you.
Borg keep warping in and then fading out. So yes, let's definitely
I
tell
did
no one
notice
this still
that's really
exists.
weird.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, these are set level apparently, so I'm fighting at level 30, and these things are all
That
29,
would explain it.
which is why they are all exploding the moment I look at them. Okay, the sphere managed to last a little longer. Good for you, sphere.
And just to be sure, the SS Azura team accolades If you have an
Yeah,
engineer, a tactician, and a science person in the same party, everybody gets the accolades, right?
right.
And I think there's one for doing all three.
Yeah, and then the one I fixed was the science one, which has been bugged for a while.
Y'all have just experienced one of my favorite things, which is what it's like being in a QA handoff meeting with Christian, because it, these things get put in front of us, and then Christian asks all the questions, and they're all good questions, and I don't know how he knows them all.
I love handoffs; they're fun.
Yeah. Calantha flower. I know. When I told John that everybody wanted, well, not everybody, but a lot of people wanted the Terran Valkyries to have the Agony Phaser weapons instead. After he and I chatted for a minute and realized that all you guys wanted was a different proc, because that's the only difference. He said he would definitely think about it and that it was interesting, but I don't know if he's had actually time to work on it because I believe he's been on vacation or sick or
He
something.
is. He was on vacation and now he's unbelievably busy.
So
Yeah,
busy.
he's so busy right now.
That's
Yeah,
right.
because I'm trying to pick his brain for fixing things, and it's just like there's no time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's too busy to be on a stream or anything like that.
Well, he's gonna be on a stream, the next time we're announcing a ship. I've got him
Right.
booked for that already. But
Hmm.
Drum Blue 81, you've run into something that we would very much like to do, and I don't have a ton of time to do for our two character artists to go through and give the old uniforms new visual fidelity would be a fairly long task, and it's a task that takes them away from some of the interesting things they're doing now. Things you may have seen in hinted at in teasers from previous missions. So, but I want the lockbox. Why won't you give me?
You keep clicking cancel though.
Well,
Oh,
because
you're
it's
doing that on
not
purpose.
because I don't
He's
want the rest of the stuff.
yeah,
I just want the
like all of
lockbox.
this is there.
What would it take to update content like this, specifically the Deep Space event? Jesse, I'll throw that question your way because you would probably be the one doing it if we ever did it.
Update in what way?
I think make it more modern and sort of like we did with the Klingon mission refreshes of the Federation tutorial refresh.
Like 2023 standards.
Yeah,
Hmm. So okay, so that means the environment team is going to look at each of the maps and say, okay, this space area looks janky. This nebula is, getting Z fighting or whatever. They're going to spend several weeks doing that, and then content is going to look at it and go, okay, we have to finally get this bug tracked down and put to rest once and for all, where critters warp in, fade out, and then warp in again. And that's a big question mark. We don't know what causes it. Therefore, we don't know how long it'll take to fix. Um, then just talking about like refreshing the content and making it new and interesting. So, for instance, adding a voiced character, bringing in an actor to be your liaison who's dealing with these sort of deep space encounter things. All right, sure. Pick someone from Star Trek who's willing to work at a reasonable rate and has some free time, and we'll have our writer write up a bunch of stuff for each of the different kinds of DSEs. So whether you're fighting Breen or Borg or Klingons or whatever, they have something interesting to say. And we can add that in. It'll take the writer a few days to come up with that. A couple of days of recording. Audio then has to go through, set all the audio levels, and fix it so that it sounds like it's coming over comms and whatnot. That's a couple days. Costume designers have to make the likeness of that person, even if it's just a mini contact. That little tiny icon pops up with their face on it. So got to sculpt their likeness. That's
yeah.
weeks of work.
Or or if we decide to make it an STO original character, it's still probably
Yeah,
days of work to get them
right.
created
Even
or
if we're
to
not doing
yoink
a
them from
custom
thing.
sculpt,
Yeah.
if it's just like using the engine as is, it still takes a little while for the costume designers to get it exactly where they want it. And oftentimes our costume designers will be like, this isn't quite, I'm not feeling it. I'm going to just make some new hair or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and then content, my stuff. Well, let's see. We want some DSCs that are higher levels, maybe. So now we have to copy some of the existing DSCs, redo the level scoping on them. So now I have to change the encounters so that they level appropriately, set the player max level, make a new version of the map that's able to handle all of this stuff. That's a couple of days work because there's a whole bunch of DSCs to do that too. Add unconventional gameplay, like you have to close portals, you have to stop them from accessing this mega structure, you have to rescue these damaged ships. All of those sorts of things are like, okay, I could update a DSC to do that. It'd take maybe a few days, maybe a week, depending on how complex the gameplay is. And then I have to port that over to every other case where we want to do it, which once I've done it once, it's easy to do it in all the others, but it's not seamless. It has to know, oh, I'm on a different map now. The enemies are different now. We have to make sure it doesn't break. And then it goes to QA, and QA has to play all of them, has to find every case that there's a bug, has to test them all in multiplayer, has to find unforeseen interactions. Oh, you put in this new type of gameplay puzzle, but if you're fighting Zenkethi, it breaks. Oops. Go back and fix that. That's never happened before. So that's a few weeks of work for QA to go through and do all of that, and then send back stuff to us for us to fix. So updating DSCs to a modern standard, if I were going to be generous with the team, I would probably schedule like a month and a half, 2 months of time to do something like that if we wanted to hit them all through the game. And that would mean doing stuff like adding DSCs to other quadrants that don't have them, adding critter groups that currently aren't in DSCs, maybe adding additional accolades that are connected to them, tying them into the Endeavor system more strongly, stuff like that.
Yeah. Alrighty. So I'm in the, I
You
believe
disintegrated that guy with your sword.
Yes, I did!
I did actually just notice that map is flickering for you. At least it was at the beginning.
Yeah, no, it still
is.
is. I'm not entirely sure what
yep,
that is, but
yep.
we should probably write that down. This
Where are
is
you
Kittimer and
on?
Stasis.
Kittimer and Stasis TFO? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I have a feeling I know what's causing it,
Yeah.
but I could be wrong.
It's called It's Really Old.
That could be it too. I have a different theory.
I've actually seen this happen in ESD, and it's weird.
Oof.
Interesting. Yeah, I remember seeing it happen once with Scott on the stream with me, and I remember he ran off in consternation to fix it, but
Yeah, I have the bug in for the ESD one, and I actually have a GIF of it. Like you'd see like everything flicker. It was really bizarre.
well, you can pull a GIF from the stream if for the
Yeah.
next year if you want.
That's what I probably will do.
Captain K. Tainer said this happens on a lot of older maps and on this map all the time. Okay, well that's good to know. I mean, it's terrible that it's happening, but it's really good to know.
Right. It's super helpful because the more that we can get it to happen, the closer we can get to nailing it down.
Yeah.
Figure out what's
Remember, folks, as I assimilate my friends here, remember, even if a bug seems like it's so old that like the devs must know about it because it's been around for so long, report it on the forums anyway, just in case. Maybe we know about it, maybe we don't.
Did that just that first person thing was really weird.
Yeah, that's what happens sometimes when you lose to Groundborg. You get assimilated, and then you lose control of your character, run around for a bit, attack your friends, and then you die.
Yep.
Mm.
Assimilated.
Tempest 984 is a bug for you, Christian. And yes, it is always possible to report bugs on stream, but the best place to do it is on the forums at all times, forever.
To the forums.
There is a locked thread that has a bug reporting format. Please use that.
Please, as much information as you can. If you hop into the forums and say, Borg TFO broke, we're not going to be able to help you. Oh, I'm assimilated again. You're welcome, Tempest.
Oh, no.
Can STO be played on PS5? Yes, it can. I don't have a PS5 myself, so I'm not entirely sure how you access it. But I know
you download it through the store.
You just download it through the store? Okay, I thought there was a separate section for games that were in compatibility mode rather than
I just went through the store and downloaded it on my PS5.
Sweet. Yes, and I've heard the game does run much better on PS5. Stu1701 says, but the forums are mean. You don't have to stay. We're trying to make them less mean all the time, but you can also just report the bug and then go like this, then leave forever. Well, not forever, until you get the next bug.
Right, until you go to report your next bug. Your level of interaction is completely up to you. You are welcome to just come to streams like this one where we love you, Stu.
Yeah. Scared Gohan says they can't make posts in the thread. If you mean the thread Christian was mentioning, yes, that is a locked thread. You will not be able to make posts on it. But you should use the formatting mentioned in that thread to get a to post your own thread with your particular bug, and then Christian or I will notice it and report it, or somebody else on the QA team, because a lot of us look at it.
Right. Read the locked thread, follow the instructions in there, make new post using that format.
At Assault
Um,
says the forums being mean is why they migrated to Reddit a decade ago. I'm so sorry that you made that decision. Because
that
now
is
I've migrated
kind
back
of
to the forums because the
I
Reddit
was gonna
got
say
so
it's
mean.
like the reverse of true, but
Well, it's like it. It used to be. I would 100% agree with that. Like when I first started working here, the Reddit was really nice and helpful, and the forums were kind of a mess. We've done a lot of work fixing the forums, and I think they're a slightly better place now. And Reddit, boy, has some stuff has changed there.
going through its midlife crisis.
Yeah.
The
Um,
mods on the Reddit have done pretty decent, but you can't do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I have some fundamental disagreements with the mods on the Reddit.
I
But
wanted to make another comment about we don't assume that we've heard of every bug just because it's old. Um, it's also like if a bug continues to persist for a long time, you know, go ahead and poke it again,
yeah.
resurface it on the forums. Even if a dev says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to fix that bug," devs change jobs, man. The guy that told you that might not work for us anymore.
Or he might have gotten distracted by something else on fire that is more recent and more pulling of his time. So,
Also
or her
happens.
time. So,
Yeah.
you know, this is the TFO that's the big labyrinth where you have to teleport around and find things, right? Or is this just the one that's a straight shot to the boss? I don't remember.
Kittimer and Stasis is the teleporter where I think one person has to go to the panic room and
Okay.
activate the thing. Ugh.
Christian, do we know about trauma response apparently giving unlimited shield rep penetration?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually,
Oh yeah.
I bugged for the first part of it, where right now it's giving both buffs. I heard about it, like has a weird thing with EPG where it triggers everything and super uptime. Its trauma response is just buggy right now.
Yeah. Is there a reason why we can't put fleet logo on ships? You can put the fleet logo on some ships, but not all of them, and I think that's decided on a case-by-case basis by the ship artist.
It is,
Correct.
yeah, it's Thomas being like, yeah, no, never,
Yeah.
absolutely not. I did see one good feedback. So I've been classifying a lot of these as feedback, the ones that are not bugs, and one of them was having the synth ship get an alternate skin without the Fleet Federation symbol, and I'm like, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just a sleek stealth fighter.
That would be cool. Duncan Trexpert, you remind me of the Babe. Christian, you saw that one from Viper 007 Viper?
Yeah, with
Cool.
the yeah.
Cool. Scared Gohan can't post anywhere on the forums. Well, that could be a problem. I don't know what the situation is, but feel free to tweet at me with your forum name. Da-da-da. Oh,
I did
okay.
add some
So
bugs for
Ian
the
just
Galaxy class.
I was asking
Oops,
Ian
sorry, guy.
about the uh I don't know what I'm doing in this mission and I feel completely useless and I apologize to my teammates. Blah blah blah. Ian let me know that sometimes there are bridge officers that if you're playing something like a Romulan or a Jem'Hadar, and uh you get the commission the buff. That's the word I was looking for, man. Before you have a faction, then it will not be able to edit the buff sometimes in certain cases. So that might be what's happening with the hierarchy buff, but uh, we don't know for sure. I
No,
have to
because the
now talk to
hierarchy mission
production.
is way later on.
Oh, okay. Well, then I have to talk to production about getting Ian or Amelia some time on their schedule to fix that. Probably would take a couple of days to make that bridge officer fully editable. So
Yeah, probably what happened was it was edible, and then there was a lot of clipping issues, and then character art at the time may have decided
to
they don't
make it
want to deal with it.
uneditable. Yeah. All right. How do
With
you
just the
report bugs,
flickering.
tech issues on consoles, Spectre AG? The forums. There's a special forum for console issues. So, all right. Well, we have been going for a very fun hour and 15. And I think this TFO is going to require my full attention in order for me to actually be helpful to these poor people who are stuck in it with me. So I am going to find us somebody to raid and wrap up the stream. While I do that, Christian, tell them a joke. This is one of my favorite things to do because every time we get that deer in headlights, like, joke? I love you all. But if you have something you want to say, go for it.
I have no idea. I don't have.
Okay.
I'm not good with jokes.
Anything you want them to know?
I'm constantly scanning the forums and the Reddit
Like,
for
oh, well,
bugs and putting bugs in.
this is a
Feel free to message
fixable
me,
situation
bugs.
instead of arthritis.
But do have steps to reproduction for it, because if you say something's broken without any context,
We
I
can't.
don't know.
We can't do
help
anything
you.
about it.
Very painful. Yeah.
All right.
All right. This person seems fine. Let's break their brain.
Yeah, this is a TFO that I would really love to redo, but a lot of work.
I'm just watching the flickering. I'm like, oh my god.
I know it's the worst. Actually, I'm just gonna go to this, so we're not just broadcasting that on stream. It looks crazy because this is not set up. This guest window was not set up for guests, but that's fine. All right, we're ready to go do this raid, and that means it's time for us to wave our goodbyes. So, bye-bye, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.